Brickmaniacs, we're here in the Brickmania HQ in Minneapolis, Minnesota, taking another closer look at the Makin Island mock. So I've got Dan joining me here as always because we've got a lot of updates. As you can see, if you've paid attention in the last videos, there's been a lot of progress made on this bad boy. But if you haven't joined us here before for a Makin Island update, Dan, tell us a little bit about this project and quite literally how you started creating this thing.
Well, this is the USS Makin Island in Lego form, 1/35th scale to match all of our vehicles, and it was made as a showcase for the models and the model kits that we make. Everything you see on here, as far as aircraft go, are or were Brickmania kits that we've made. So it was a showpiece, and what better showpiece than to do something that actually had all the aspects of what we're doing. We have the helicopters, aircraft, even have the LCAC and the Humvees and stuff out the back.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a good showpiece. It's along the lines of that we did an LST years and years ago. Same thing, just much bigger. This is a modern ship. It's actually the first time we've done a ship that was actually in service.
Yeah, right.
All the other previous ships that we've done have been historical ships that have been either decommissioned. They had some historical significance or geographic significance. Even.
Right.
But this is the first one we've done that actually has it's a modern ship, and we're bringing it to San Diego where the actual ship is stationed. So that's a cool thing.
Well, and those of you that be familiar with the USS Missouri, that was kind of built initially as in tribute or in honor to the brave people who have served. This is kind of cool because it is literally, like you said, active service. This is kind of a tribute to the people who are doing it right now as we speak.
Right. So and we've been this ship's it's almost 20 years old now in real life.
Right.
And it's gone through some major upgrades. So as we've been building it, we've been following along.
Sure.
Oh, we need to change things because they've made additions, they've made upgrades. When we first started working on this, they had barely introduced the F-35s. Now that's a standard thing. So we've replaced our Harriers with F-35s, just like the real thing. These CH-43s, there were CH-46s originally on the Makin Island, and they've been replaced with Ospreys. So we are doing Ospreys. So for us, it's an evolving project, and of course the Navy is too. So. This was started about over 3 years ago, I believe.
Right.
So 3 years in the making, on and off. COVID really kind of threw a wrench in
our
show
we had to
plans.
Pump the brakes a little bit there on that.
Right. We hoped that this thing would be out in 2000, out and around on tour, being seen by people, but we didn't get it out till the first show till last summer. So 2001, 2021.
2021, yeah.
2021 it got on. Yeah. The real ship didn't even exist then. But yeah, so.
And then obviously World War Brick was probably the most complete people were able to see.
Right, we're able to work on it. When you get a deadline, you get a little bit more impetus to work on it. And picked November of this year, since World War Brick came and went.
Yep.
Got it pretty well complete. Still a lot missing. But we decided November was a good time to get it to California, get it to the store, and that gave us an actual target date to get it done. So get it done.
Yeah, right. Get it as done as we can before it begins to make its trip. So for the actual construct of the mock itself, we've got it in sections here, which is similar to the Missouri, but a little bit different at the same time because this isn't necessarily a Technic lattice. This is like stacked brick.
This in the internal structure of this. Yeah, it's just regular brick. The sides of the hull are plates pointing out, so it's studs sideways, or studs not on top. For those who don't know that. So it's built studs out, the deck is studs up, but inside it's a box, basically a box frame made out of just traditional 2x4, mostly 2x4 Lego bricks. So there's bricks in here that were from my childhood.
That's crazy.
So when we make these big displays, we've been making displays, bringing them around to museums, conventions, things like that. Year after year, we get, a display gets old, it gets tired, we take it apart and make something new.
Yep.
And we've even had people generously donate their bricks to So some of these bricks that are in here are donated for the historical. They see the value of what we're doing. Say,
being a part of it, yeah.
Use my bricks for whatever upcoming projects you have. So this is a mishmash. This is years of my own personal collection stuff. Brickmania's purchased just for this display.
How does one even go about ordering parts for something like this? I mean, I'd assume there's a fair amount of math involved, where you're kind of like, all right, I know what would fit in here times 5 times 6.
And you can't just go to Lego and say, hey, I need 50,000.
Exactly.
So it's. I mean, this has been 3 years in the making. So periodically, hey, we're going to do a push to get this part done. We'll order for that particular section.
Sure.
So when I was building the outer deck, I had a certain amount of gray plates that we had been buying for years, building into our displays. And it was like, okay, we know at some point we're going to build another ship. So those displays are going to have to come apart. We're going to have to get all those bricks out. And we strategically purchased in phases. Like, hey, we're going to build this. We're going to build this with the end goal someday.
It all coming together.
End of the 5-year plan, into the 10-year plan, we'll have enough gray pieces to build a ship this big. And this is the culmination. So this is actually like 10 years in the planning and the building, where it was just an idea to actually to this point. So some of these bricks and plates were in, say, our big Battle of the Bulge display, or
some of the tan ones in the in one of the other ones that you guys did.
Brandon Brigade.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
We had the D-Day landing. We've had all, and there were many landing craft were destroyed to make this.
Yes, to go. That's crazy.
The entire what you see on the deck though, the air wing is all Brickmania kits. So these are actually kits we made for sale, and we diverted a certain number of them for the ship. So
can't be naked.
Yeah. So these are actual Brickmania kits that the Brickmania employees in their spare time, I should say, in their spare time, donated their time to build these aircraft.
To be able to put them together. Well, and then obviously we had to make room on the printers to get things like the crew and whatnot ready to rock. So it's definitely been an all hands on deck, terrible, so to speak, effort to get it all together. So that's kind of an update on just the ship itself. So let's talk about, for the people who have been paying attention and kind of know the evolution of what it's come so far. Obviously, we have this over here, and then some of the tiling would have been some of the other big upgrades, so to speak.
Well,
as we
at
get
World
closer
War
to
Brick,
being
we
finished.
barely just started putting the catwalks on.
Right.
So they were just sort of like placeholder catwalks. In the last couple of weeks, had a chance to start going through those catwalks, getting railings. That's getting kind of low priority. The superstructure here, getting the masts and getting all these antennas. These masts do actually turn, by the way. They're motorized.
Oh, really? Cool.
So let me just demonstrate. They're probably, that's the wrong direction. They need to be geared down. They are a little bit going too fast. This one does the same thing. So,
but it's still a work in progress. Look at that.
Absolutely.
That's so cool.
But yeah, it's definitely a work in progress. So this is going to go to San Diego, and it'll continue to get worked on while it's in San Diego. So I will be down there periodically to help.
Live building.
So it'll be happening, but it's going to get put into place. It'll look fairly decent when it's already there. So what's new is all the superstructure. As a World War brick, it was basically just a skeleton. It was just bare bones here. There wasn't any of these masts. None of this was here. All the radar domes, radar dishes, targeting systems, none of it was here. And we're going to keep working on this for the rest of the day. So there's even going to be more activity happening. The big thing that is most noticeable is that most of the decking is tiled.
Yeah, and there's printing. I mean, like, you can't, the amount of printed parts now by putting those tiles down, those tie downs, that's insane.
They're pad eyes. It's a specific patterns specific to this type of ship. They're tie downs for the aircraft that go on the deck and any deck equipment. They don't want to get washed overboard or blown overboard. The side of the hull is tiled. So the next step later this afternoon, we'll be putting the railings on. We'll be doing, so before this gets dismantled again and packed up to go to California, there's still hours of work ahead of this.
Wow.
You're looking at it, it's about what I would consider like 95-96% done.
That's got to feel good.
Yeah.
After this many years, my goodness.
Yeah, but there's still, there's just so many details that are going to be built into it. I don't know. Where do you start?
Yeah, right. Well, so most of this stuff, I'm assuming you're just building from the source material imagery itself, and then just making sure it matches with the scale of it all.
Yeah. So we're looking at pictures.
Yep.
We have some 3D model references that we've been using to get everything roughly in the right place, but we have to verify everything. So just finding out where everything is, all these little staircases. We were going through frame by frame to look at where everything is and putting, first we rough it in and then we do all the details. So we have 6 fueling stations.
Right.
We counted like 15 of these like stairways that go from the flight deck. Count them up, build them, put them on, all the different life rafts. So we're at the point where it's just like the finishing touches. It's all the major components are here.
Well, and then there's obviously the travel aspect, which will be interesting, especially with some of these more greebly pieces. But let's talk a little bit about the size and the weight that we're dealing with this too, because obviously, if you guys know about the Missouri, that's got its own custom created cases. You kind of get it, sluiced in there. You got handles. That's nice and easy. Not the same deal when it comes to the Makin. That doesn't have any.
I had this sort
manpower.
of idea in my mind that this would fit into the Missouri's crates, and then when we calculated the height of the deck off the the water line. Like these are too tall for the Missouri crates. That was like,
I mean, I'm not a short dude.
yeah. So those crates are only 15 inches high. This deck is higher than 15 inches. So
Right.
the first thing we did is, instead of making, that one's 10 sections of 30 inches each. This is 5 sections of 60 inches. So they're 5-foot sections. They weigh a lot. We had no idea.
Especially that bow.
Yeah, and probably wouldn't have done it that way had we known how heavy it's going to be. So
Sure.
But I mean,
'Cause it's
actually,
such solid brick.
I wouldn't even know how to do a bow, split this in half, because it would fall off.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, you think about how
nothing
far
holding it
back
up.
that taper comes. Yeah, where else would you have the weight on the back end to support that?
And even the front like 15 to 18 inches of that is built as a separate piece. It had to be shoved onto there and then attached. It's only held with Lego. There's, a lot of times you'll see these
Again,
gigantic structures that are built, like say at like the official amusement parks and these, the museum pieces.
Even Legoland at MOA, same deal.
They have a metal frame inside of them,
Yep.
and then the parts are glued onto them. None of this is glued. This is all held together with Lego parts. There's no secret anything inside
And
of it.
gravity.
Yeah, a little bit of gravity, but that's just the surface stuff. This is all held together by interlocking Lego pieces and friction.
Yeah.
So clutch, I guess, is the right word. So, gravity's trying to take it apart.
Well, and then interesting too when you think about like, so obviously if you guys have seen us move it, there are some of these center hull sections that have like handles and whatnot, but once you get back towards the well deck, you kind of lose the ability to do that. So once again, you're just kind of back to trying to get underneath these, not quite as heavy, but still
I appreciate the fact that we have carpet on the floor here. You
Yeah,
can
I
get your
bet.
fingers under a little bit.
to
The
move.
places that we've had to set this up, we had to set this up on concrete.
Concrete.
Once. That was not a fun experience. In fact, I think we gouged the play mat that's sitting on a couple of times doing that.
So obviously many, many hours still left to go, but really cool to see it already kind of updated to this
Oh,
point.
doesn't it look so much better?
Yeah.
All that color that pops out at you too. There's still more to add. I mean, I'm looking forward to kicking back tonight with a few beers and just keep adding more details.
Well, and I suppose it is kind of one of those things where, when you're building, obviously when the structures themselves come together, you see this giant rectangle appear. But now that you're adding those kind of final steps, you get that like final satisfaction of being like, wow, this is like almost done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking more and more done. I can't not look at it and go, oh, there's just so
gotta
much.
fix this, I gotta
but
fix
at least
that,
we
yeah.
could get to the point where it's going to be like, yeah, I'll get it in the store. You'll be like, wow, that's really, that's a lot more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. We want people to like their jaw to drop and they're like, what is this?
Right.
So even when we first did, remember we went to Nebraska Brick Days and it was barely built.
Pretty much a rectangle.
there was nothing on the deck yet.
Yeah.
I was building this superstructure while we were there. And people would just stop in their tracks, and how much has happened since that point.
Right. Well, you could already tell the scale of the project, even in its infancy, but now that you're seeing it like really coming to closer to completion, that's when it's like you're really going to get that jaw-dropping effect.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So Brickmania Miramar, which is in San Diego, California, that was kind of really always the plan for this once it really started to get wrapped up and we got that location opened.
We would plan on maybe a couple of years of driving it around and bringing it on this place, but then after those first three, we did 3 trips with this, and like, well, it's a lot of work. When you got the air wing, you got all the sailors.
And just the repair alone can be hours.
Yeah. So George and I are going to be driving down to Miramar. Hopefully, hopefully there'll be some extra hands at the store to help us set it up.
Unload and get it put
It's going to be
together.
it's a long drive, and we'll have to recover all that repaired, road damage, repair the road damage.
See what it looks like on the other end. But that will be the plan for this. So if you haven't had a chance to make it here for World War Brick and do want to check out the USS Makin Island in Lego form in person, that will be our San Diego location. Again, Brickmania Miramar will be probably the final resting place.
Yeah,
we'll
set it up there. I mean, I'll be out there periodically to work on it. My hope is that I could set up some sort of design studio out on the West Coast, so that we have 2 locations for the team. That's the long-term plan. So I hope to be out there more often. Hope to be out there with this.
Yeah. it'll be cool to see the project wrapped up. Spoiler alert, April 2023, we're going to be heading out to California again to celebrate the anniversaries of both our Vallejo and Miramar location. And so hopefully that will be another time we'll be able to have the crew back out there to be able to check this thing out. But that might be the next time we get another official update video on the USS Makin Island. So this is kind of our final swing through and just seeing everything before it parks at the dock in San Diego.
You know, we're blowing our cover story. We're going to tell people that the real Makin Island disappeared into the Bermuda Triangle and was shrank down into 1/35 scale. And then in 8 months, we're going to magically make the real one reappear.
Oh, absolutely excellent. It's going to be cool to see it all together, all the minifigures, everything else. Anything else you can think that we would want to cover for this last update here in the HQ?
No, I think it's just, I've been super happy that my team kind of stepped up at the last, when I finally said, okay, I need some help, have really, pulled out all the stops, getting the tiles on, getting railings, we're still working on it, but this is our last opportunity to take a video before stuff starts getting packed up and we have all these.
And it's time to hit the road.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's an incredible creation. It's been really cool having it here in the HQ. Excited to see it in its new home at Miramar. Thanks for your time, and thanks for bringing this to Lego form, man. This is really, really freaking cool.
It's been my pleasure.
All right, once again, you can check this out at our Miramar location in San Diego, California. Give it a little while. He's got to drive it out there still, but we'll eventually have it set up at that location.
By the time this video comes out, I think you'll see it.
It'll be there. It'll be set up, so you can go and see that there and check it out in person. Otherwise, that's all for us. Thank you very much for watching.